Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joy-Filled Universe podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ryan, who is just back from a beautiful holiday in Ireland. Oh my gosh, I had such a magical experience. Ireland is so green and pretty, and the people were all so kind and sweet and welcoming, and I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to go. And I will absolutely head back one day, hopefully soon. And I'm just going to add too that this trip probably was not everyone's cup of tea when it comes to a holiday, but it was certainly mine because I was on a biking tour and we rode every day from Sunday through Friday, and there were tons of hills, or should I say mountains, and those inclines were no joke, because in some instances they were like, I felt like they were like straight up. I mean, and I know that they probably weren't, but they were definitely a continuous incline that even the guide said this was a hard ride. And I happened to be on a touring bike, not an e-bike. So your girl worked, and she worked hard each and every day. And I will also add too that I was ever so thankful that we only had one day of rain. And even the tour guides commented on how uncommon that was. So thank you, universe, for giving me sunshine on the Emerald Isle, because I could not have imagined if it would have rained every single day. So my trip to Ireland overall was a blast. And I feel like I really got to experience that beautiful country because I literally spent hour after hour riding through the countryside and the seaside and blissfully took in the infamous 40 Shades of Green, the ancient stone structures and the beautiful old churches and the mountain views that were all dotted with these absolutely adorable, like fuzzy sheep everywhere. They were so cute, and riding through just like the super pretty villages too. Oh my gosh. And I just thought to myself, these villages have all been around and existing for hundreds of years, and they were so pretty. And it was just, I'm going to say just the whole opportunity. It was filled with so much terrific energy. And one of the lessons that I learned through the entire adventure was recognizing and appreciating my personal level of resilience. And I'm not really talking about like the tough kind of resilience, like when you are physically knocked down and you get back up again, and then you knock down, you get back up again. I'm more talking about the kind of resilience that allows us to return to ourselves again and again, no matter what life brings our way. And personal power is something that I believe we all have within us. So for me, while I was riding on my bike, I noticed that my nervous system began to settle. That mental chatter that loves to race around my head became really, really quiet. And I had zero thoughts about deadlines or responsibilities or whatever was waiting for me back at home. I had no thoughts about anything other than just being present. I was pedaling, I was listening to my breathing, I was looking all around and taking in all of the beautiful views, and not one single time did I ever entertain like a negative thought about myself or anything else that was going on around me. And I honestly believe that this awareness and the energetic high that came with it was largely because I was being surrounded and absorbed by pure nature. And science supports this, right? We have learned that spending time outdoors lowers our stress, it improves our mood, and it regulates our nervous system. And I think that most of us actually know this too intuitively, because we can feel it when we sink our bare feet into the lush grass or even the beautiful soft sand. We can feel it when we watch the sunset or the sunrise, or even just gazing out at the beautiful moon and the stars in the sky, and even when we're just simply surrounded by the beautiful trees and mountains and water, right? It all just is so natural, and nature reminds us that life isn't meant to be rushed. Everything in nature has a rhythm, whether it's a season or a moon cycle or the tides of the ocean too. And I believe that when we reconnect with that incredible wisdom, we reconnect with our true selves. And from that, we can really lean into our personal power, which is so incredibly resilient. And I want to tell you too, and this might not be a surprise to you, but no one has to go on a bike tour through Ireland to acquire this feeling of personal power, even though I'm going to say I highly recommend it. But many of us can feel this energy just by finding ourselves in an environment that feels strong and genuine and powerful and literally channels us into the present, where negativity is nowhere to be found. Because when we stand in our personal power, resiliency shows up because we are able to fall down, and we are also able to pick ourselves back up again, and also figure out not just how to move forward, but move forward with gratitude and knowing that we have learned from our experience, and regardless of how hard it was, we recognize that it made us a better person, versus the alternative, which is more like reacting to a situation in a negative kind of way, where we feel like the victim, or like we always have bad luck, or wonder, why does this always happen to me? Because it is these types of emotions that can cause us to stay stuck in our lives versus moving forward. And another part of personal power is that we also don't wait for everything around us to get better in order for us to get better, whether it's our friends, career, family, or even the weather and the seasons outside. Whatever it is, we don't need to wait on some kind of external shift before we will allow ourselves to get better. Because when we are living into our personal power, we have an amazing level of natural resilience, regardless of what life throws at us. In fact, we need some of the life's ups and downs in order for us all to grow strong. It's like there was a study that was done a long time ago. I think it was somewhere in the 90s, where this group of researchers were experimenting with growing trees in internal controlled environments. And although the trees grew rapidly, they eventually became really weak and would bend or even collapse in some cases. And what the researchers realized was that the trees were missing some of the critical ingredients that only nature affords, like the wind that causes the trees to sway and flex. And it is like that stress from the wind that triggers the tree to develop a stronger trunk and stronger root system. And so without wind and storms and temperature shifts and other environmental challenges, trees don't develop the structural strength that it needs to support itself. And the same thing also holds true for all of us. Our bones get stronger through weight training, right? I mean, I think everybody talks about that nowadays, but they do. They get stronger through things like weight training. Our emotional resilience develops through navigating challenges, and our confidence grows by doing difficult things. And the personal power and emotional resilience that comes from enduring all of these things truly makes us stronger in so many ways, because we can take our knocks in life. We can get pushed around or get picked on, and sometimes we can end up feeling and reliving these moments over and over again, which is just, in my opinion, a terrible form of suffering. Or we can lean into our personal power, which gives us the choice to decide how we want to feel about the challenges that we face throughout our lives. And I'm actually currently reading this book. It's called The Practicing Stoic by Ward Farnsworth. I believe that's his name. The Practicing Stoic is the title. And I am 100% certain that I'm going to have lots to say about this book in coming episodes. However, there is a quote in there, and I believe it's by Marcus Aurelius, and I cannot recall the quote exactly. I'm not prepared here for that, but I do know that in plain language, it was saying something like, it's not what happens to us that causes our suffering. It's the meaning, interpretation, or judgment that we attach to what's happening that causes us to suffer. And so, even though I'm an eternal optimist, I will say that it is inevitable that we all are going to go through some challenges in our human experience. We are. In fact, I don't know any success story that didn't come with some level of challenges, which is oftentimes what makes successes so exciting. So there's going to be ups and downs. Yet, like I just said, living in our personal power gives us the choice to decide how we want to feel, because the meaning that we choose to give a situation can truly impact how we either take the lessons learned and move forward, or relive the situation over and over as if it's just happening to us day in and day out. And I know that it can be hard sometimes. I know it can be hard to move through a difficult experience. I know this because I have lived through lots of difficult experiences in my life, if I do say, and from them, I have learned and gained wisdom over the course of my life. Like, I had a terrible relationship in my life when I was younger, and for a while, I chose to label myself as damaged and broken. But with a lot of self-development work and the desire to really feel better, over time, I was able to see that storm in my life for what it was. It was a moment in my life. And when I chose to see it as something that happened for me, I then gained the awareness that it also made me a stronger human and a wiser human, because I dug into my metaphorical roots and I pushed them into the ground, and I felt empowered to shed the negative meaning and interpretation that I had placed on that period of my life. And I took from it the strength and resilience that I gained from weathering the storm. And with the strength and resilience, I could move forward with a new story that served me in a really positive way versus ways that would cause me to suffer. And, something else that's really, really cool too is that by living into our personal power and the strength and resilience that it brings, we naturally emit higher frequency vibrations. And from that, our circumstances absolutely shift and our environments change and opportunities and abundance come to us effortlessly. Because if you think about it, resilience doesn't come from escaping life. It comes from carrying the lessons that we learned into our lives in a way that serves us for good. So by being in Ireland for me, I felt like I was reminded about how resilient and strong I have become. And yes, the thought was sparked by climbing super steep hills on my bike and then reaching the top with sheer joy that I did it, and how strong I felt and how fortunate I felt that I could not only ride my bike up this ginormous hill, but that I had my health and the abundance to be able to even just go on such an incredible trip. But from that came my awareness of a similar strength and resilience that I have gained from the steep hills in my life. And just like I felt joy getting to the top of the hills on my bike, I felt, and in the future, I will likely feel the joy that comes when accomplishing and growing from the challenges that life might throw at me. Because remember, our personal power affords us the ability to choose how we interpret any situation in life. We can choose to get wrapped around the axle and label the experience with all sorts of negative thoughts, or we can acknowledge the experience, find the lessons that came from it, and be grateful that it has made us stronger. Just like the passing storms make the trees in nature stronger, the passing storms in our lives can and they will make us stronger too, so that we can stand tall with our roots firmly planted in the ground, just absorbing the beautiful sunshine that the universe shines on us. So, let me ask you this. Where are you with your resiliency, and how does it resonate with your personal power? Also, how many events in your lives do you still attach meaning to that keeps you in a state of suffering? And from there, how can you flip the meaning and empower yourself with your personal power rather than allowing the circumstances to knock you down? And one more thing, and it's important to be really mindful of this. How can we all keep from labeling experiences, people, or even ourselves for that matter, so that we don't become super guarded as we go through life? Because through our protective lens, we may find ourselves defining similar events or people based on a past negative experience that has yet to be let go of. And I know that some experiences are hard to overcome and it takes time. Trust me, I know this. But allowing ourselves to gradually sink into the good, the learning, and that true gift inside of any circumstance, whether it's good or bad, is our way out of any storm. Because the more we do this, the more resilient we become, and the sooner we can move forward, which means that we can then just take bigger risks, and better yet, we can just manifest bigger things, because we learn to recognize the story and we learn that it's not about us. It's about the meaning that we are assigning to a situation, and we can shift our perspective so that we don't get stuck. Because remember, leaning into our personal power isn't something we have to do every single day. It's something we have within us for when we need it, when those storms show up in our lives. And we can persevere through them with a level of awareness that this is only a passing storm that will benefit us through opportunity for growth and learning and gaining wisdom in our lives. And the more we see the good, the higher our frequency becomes, and the quicker that storm will pass. So, for this week, take some time and do a little self-discovery. Are there past stories that you are hanging on to because you have assigned them a meaning that could be keeping you stuck in a bit of a do loop? And if there is, how can you lean into your personal power and flip that story, assign a new meaning, discover the lessons that you've learned from it, and then, most importantly, let go of all the other bits that don't serve your highest good? Because by doing this, we grow our resilience and we continue to move toward the lives that we desire, because we have courage, and we have that courage to just go with the gusto and make the bite of this human apple experience delicious. And that, my most amazing resilient friends, that's going to be a wrap for this week. And so you don't have to go to Ireland to discover your personal power. You just have to go within, because I am absolutely certain that all of you have a level of resiliency already built within you. And I am also certain that you all are probably much, much stronger than you give yourselves credit for. And I don't really have a quote for this week, but I do have a bit of a proverb, and that is, smooth seas don't make skillful sailors, which basically means we need the storms in our lives to get stronger and wiser. And our personal power and resilience gives us the courage to see the good and let go of the bad and keep growing forward. And on that note, I hope that you found this week's episode to be helpful. And if you did, as I always love to say, please do your girl a solid and rate the show, give it a review. That would be amazing. And even share it with a friend. All of this is always super helpful, and I'm always just so grateful for your support. So on that note, I'm your host, Lisa Ryan. This is the Joy-Filled Universe podcast, where we explore all the tools and tricks that are going to make your universe even more joyful than it already is. And I will see you next week. Bye.